I am Laura Cummings from White Birch Books, and I am here today at Sun TV with Mary Cronin, Library Director from the Cook Memorial Library in Tamworth. And we are here to talk about the 2024 One Book, One Valley read, The Road to Dalton by Shannon Bowring. Oh, darn it. Anyway, thank you for joining me today.
I'm happy to be here. This is exciting.
Yes, we're very excited. I mean, the community read gets us going every year. So, but not everybody knows what a community read is or what One Book, One Valley is. So do you want to take a stab at it?
Sure. The original idea came from Olga Morrill at the Conway Library, and she put together a committee in 2006, and we did the book, it might have been Ernest Heber, or it was
Howard Frank Mosher.
Howard Frank Mosher's book. And anyway, the idea was that to get everyone in the Valley reading the same book and then talking about it and getting excited about reading, but also connecting with the community, connecting readers, and encouraging people to have conversations other than the weather or, you know, what animal trumped through your backyard last night.
Right.
So, yeah, so that's what it's all about, community, connecting, reading.
I remember that first year, I think we had pins that we wore. So if you were at the grocery store and you had your pin on, you could say, oh, I'm reading it too, and everything. And boy, did we make Howard work. I think we had him for like 3 or 4 events when he came or something. But now, yes, 18 years later, and we're still doing it. And I was looking back over the list of authors that we've had, and it's quite a who's who of really fantastic New England authors, and it's run the gamut from nonfiction to fiction, men, women, and memoirs, mysteries, and everything. It's been quite the list, and I was actually impressed with us. But I know. I was thinking, and it's amazing to think 18 years, but it doesn't seem, Chris Bojalian and Monica Wood and, Morgan Talty went on to win several awards. I know that wasn't, some people didn't love that book, but that's actually a part of important thing about discussing is to have people maybe not like it and talk why, but this year, The Road to Dalton. So tell me a little bit about the book. Let's get people excited about this year's pick.
I'll say The Road to Dalton. It's fiction, and it's set in, I think, around the late 80s, early 90s, somewhere around there, in northern Maine, up in Aroostook County. So that's where it's set. It's a town and it describes, the book opens, it describes driving there and driving through just pretty much woods and log roads, and then finally coming to the town. And as you see the town, you realize how insular it is. So that's really what the book's about, is about the town, the community, and how it all works together.
Right, you do get that impression that it's kind of sits all alone. I mean, it isn't, because they do talk about going other places and that it's not alone in the world, but you do get this impression that it's up there all alone. And you meet various townspeople, and through their stories, you get the story of what's happening there. And it's kind of an ingenious way of doing it, because you get these little insights into individual people, but it gives you the whole picture. Right. And it seems small and sleepy when you first go in, but it's not.
No, not at all.
And that's what is so wonderful about it, because it kind of lulls you in, I think, and then it really grips you and everything, which I think part of what really got me is that it could be any small town.
Right.
Like here.
Yeah, that was it. It was definitely the part that I liked about it was that you did see a little bit of everyone's lives through their own perspective, but also how they were seeing the rest of the townspeople. And they didn't always mesh, but they kind of did. So we'd probably have some good discussions about, how well do you really know your neighbors, and how well, how you even know what they're going through half the time. And even if you suspect, you're from northern New England, so you don't necessarily ask. And where those boundaries are as far as being helpful or being standoffish. So I think that's kind of a good thing to talk about in a book group.
Right, the old what happens behind closed doors thing, which is a good thing. And then, yes, how well do we know our neighbors? And the interesting part too is that Shannon, a lot of people, what is it, write what you know?
Yeah.
So she grew up in northern Maine, so she is very well equipped to write about this area. She doesn't live up there now. She's kind of in mid-coast Maine.
Brunswick, Bath area.
Right, and she is, what does she do when she's not writing a book?
She's a librarian.
So we like her for that, and everything. So the other thing is, a lot of people always wonder, how do we choose these books? Yes. I mean, do we put a name in a hat, or is it by magic that it happens? But how do you want to talk about that process a little bit?
I will. I mean, we have a committee. The committee comprised of the libraries that are participating. Generally, it's someone from each library will come and weigh in. We compile a list of books we think are discussable. We get pitched all the time from authors, and someone who knows, their aunt's friend wrote a book, and why wouldn't this be a great book for One Book, One Valley? But we really are looking for a discussable book, something that has something for us to chew on a little bit and talk about. So, so as we go through the year, we'll read books, we'll find out what books might be coming out, because Laura's a great connection for that. She seems to be more on top of the brand new books that are coming in, even though librarians get all kinds of, review journals as well. But we try to make it so that we can actually afford to buy the book, so we can buy multiple copies. We are self-funded, and it's through either the friends groups or the library itself, and its programming money will kick in a bit, but that doesn't cover the whole cost of it. Often we'll get a grant, oftentimes from the New Hampshire Humanities, which has been a real big supporter of ours throughout the years. But the picking of the book, it runs a little different every year. Sometimes it comes together in, 5 minutes. It's like, yes, this is the book, it's coming out, we're going to have a paperback copy available, and there's lots to talk about. And sometimes it's a little harder to nail it down. So each year it's a little different, but there is a group, there's no they, it's actually people you probably see who are choosing the books.
And then we have to make sure that the author can come. That's the big thing, because we always have to end all our discussion with the author coming to town and being there to talk about the hows, whys, what fors as to writing the book, and then answering all of our pent-up questions after all this time. So that is the big piece. Is, can we get the author, can they come to town?
Can they speak in front of an audience?
Right.
Because not all authors are really good public speakers.
Right. And we have had that over the years too.
Yeah, most of the time we do okay.
Yes, most of the time it's been fantastic. And we did get some great feedback that Shannon is very good in this regard. And because we do, a lot of times when you go see an author event, you haven't read the book. They're out touring for a brand new book. Right. And so you haven't read the book, and what they're talking to you about is pretty much pitching you as to why you should. And this is a very different audience in that most of them are sitting there having read the book And so the author is kind of talking to you about a very different, it's a very different kind of discussion. And the questions are very different. They're asking, very kind of specific, like, why did you have this character say this? Because I think it would have been better if they had said that, and things like that. So it's a very different kind of audience than a typical author program, which makes for a very different kind of final event. And this is even going to be slightly more different because she has a sequel to this that has just come out, which is, and I have completely, it's fallen out of my head.
Where the mountain meets the river.
Yes.
Where the forest meets the river.
Yes,
wow.
Thank you for
this is what happens. People
Yes.
come in the library, I know this book, I have the title, and they have it just a little wrong. We all do it.
Right. Where the forest meets the river, and this picks up in Dalton.
5 years later.
Yes, and it picks up with the people in Dalton after the events of this book, and just goes back, and so we see what happens. So that is out now, and so I'm sure some people will have read that too, and that will be somewhat interesting to add to the, I mean, it's not required, but that will also be somewhat interesting to add to the mix.
It will.
So the big event is going to be?
Yes, it's going to be on Thursday, October 24th. It's at 7 p.m. It's at the Majestic Theater. We're so glad to have found this venue. It works really well, and what they also offer is a streaming option. They have that set up, so you can do both. So if you go to our website, which is onebookonevalley.org, and spell out the one, O-N-E, for both of those. There's a link to register for the live stream, but if you can come in person, it's just much better experience, I think. But we love making it accessible through the video option. And another way we're making it accessible is now, last year was the first year we had American Sign Language interpreters, and we'll have them again this year for the event. So if you know someone who might need that, interpretation, that will be available at the event this year.
I think that just adds even, I mean, it's terrible to say, but even if you don't need it, it does just add a whole nother really inclusive visual too. So I just think it's a wonderful add-on. And it is nice to go to have a very full audience of book lovers all together, and being somebody who's been at every single one of these, to see the audience grow and to see where they're all coming from. Because that's one thing we haven't talked about is the participating libraries.
Oh, true.
So they're basically, we're talking from Bartlett-Jackson down to
Moultonborough.
All the way down to Moultonborough.
And Freiburg.
And then, North Conway and everybody in between. So 12 libraries?
12 libraries this year.
And of course the bookstore, and so that means that all those 12 libraries will most likely host a discussion.
Yeah, right now I think we have 8 discussions scheduled. It's on the One Book One Valley website is when they all are. They're at different times of the day, the different days of the week. The Madison Library will be having a Zoom option, so if you can't actually physically attend one of them, that's one that you could go to virtually. And each library. So we have Effingham and Freedom. We have, all the way over to Bartlett-Jackson, Tamworth, Moultonborough. So it's sort of,
It's a pretty wide swath of people. And so the idea is that you can pick the book up at your library, or you can, if you want to, you can buy it at the bookstore and you read the book. And if you want, you can go to a discussion group prior to the event.
right.
And
or plan your own.
right, or plan your own.
Yeah.
And you discuss the book and with other people, and you talk and you do things that book groups do, or talk to yourself about the book, or just read the book, and then you come to the big event with the author on October 24th for the big finale. And that's the idea of the community read. So somebody in Jackson and Bartlett could run into somebody from Moultonborough, and they would all have read the same book and had the same experience of reading the book. And we all know that anybody can read the same book and come up with completely different experiences of it.
That's so true. This book has been kind of interesting because a lot of the discussion of the book in the libraries happens over the desk as the person's bringing the book back, and they'll tell you what they thought of it. And some people really have liked this book. Some people found it, they were expecting, because it's got the pretty cover, they're expecting something a little more cozy, and this is actually a little more gritty. And I will say, if there is just a trigger warning, there is a suicide. So I think some readers might need to know that.
Right.
So just so you know, but there's it's treated in an honest and a real way, and I think the community's reactions to it are very honestly portrayed. So I think there's a lot of good discussion there about all of that goes surrounding that.
Right. In fact, I think it really kind of coalesces the book actually, and brings and shows what how a community, how it affects like all layers of a community and everything. I thought it was done so well, and everything. But that's why we discuss.
Yes.
And I always find in our book groups with books, it's like, oh, I didn't care for it. Oh, I loved it. And after discussion, everybody is kind of slightly different and everything.
Yeah.
So
not necessarily consensus, but a little more of the, oh, I can kind of see what you're saying and why that might be the way you saw that.
Right.
So these are great kinds of conversations to have in a group.
And sometimes there's additional programming other than just the discussions, and some of that may still be getting formulated right now.
Yeah, we're not seeing a whole lot of additional programming this year. I think because there's so much other things going on this fall that it's hard to know to schedule a program. I think we will have some resources from Carroll County Coalition for Public Health on suicide awareness. We will be able to link to that in some of their training for community members that they offer. So that would be part of the sort of passive programming, which means you do it at your own your time. So that's, I think, where it's going this year.
Okay, so and if anything does get added, it will be
on the website.
On the website at the onebookonevalley.org.
Yep.
And everything. So why, so this becomes, this does become a big thing, and as you said, it's not, it takes a village, a large swath of a village, quite the region to put it together. It takes a lot of funding. And I should mention, so we have our flatbread night.
Yes, October 1st.
October 1st.
Tuesday, October 1st. So save your
appetite.
Save your appetite and make sure you go get pizza on October 1st.
Right.
We're so grateful to Flatbread. They've supported us throughout the years. And Angela at the Pope Memorial Library is making the banner that'll be hanging up there pretty soon. She's almost done with it. She's doing a great job.
It looks amazing. So why do we keep doing this every year? I mean, it's fun. It's fun. It's always fun the night of the final event. It's one of my favorite events every year. But it's a lot of work, and it takes a lot of organizing. I won't say herding kittens, because it's not that hard. No. I mean, it's not as hard as that, but it's a lot of ducks in a row. It's a lot of logistics. It's a lot of that kind of thing. So why is it so important to do every year? Because
usually by January, we host the thing toward the end of October, sometimes in November. By January, people are coming in the library and saying, what's next year's book? they really want to know. They want to know what's coming up, and some people like to plan their reading way ahead of time. Some people do all their reading in the summer, so they want to know the book before the summer.
Right.
And it's just, that's really it. It's the readers who have made this successful. The coming together and the interest and just the, yeah, I think they love the night and that it's more than one library.
It's just become an annual
Yeah.
expected program that they want every year. So it does feel like one of those things where maybe we get a little frustrated in the picking. I mean, we do get asked every year to bring Stephen King.
Yeah.
I will say that.
Yeah. And he, not for nothing, but his agent keeps saying, nah, not
Yes.
this time.
We
you
would
know.
love to bring
Yeah.
Stephen King. But
And Anita Shreve, for some reason, that comes up a lot. Anita Shreve's been dead for about 10 years, but someone keeps asking for Anita.
yeah, that would be nice too, but
yeah.
unfortunately not. And you know, sometimes there may be, you know, some disagreements over, you know, but no, we all play nice, and sometimes we are just baffled in the year. But you're right. Sometimes we know exactly, and this is perfect,
Yeah.
and it's going to work out so easily. And then you wonder, what is going to go wrong? It can't be this easy.
Yeah.
But it does seem imperative that we do it every year because I know not everybody loves to read, though. But it does seem a great thing when people coalesce around a book, even if they don't like it.
You know, some of the best book discussions are discussions of books you either didn't get or you just don't like, because there's lots of ways to hate a book. Everyone usually loves a book for the same exact reasons, you know. So it's hard to read and talk about a book that everyone just loves. It's the ones that challenge you a little bit that are more interesting to kind of chew on with other people, to kind of discuss and figure out, well, what exactly was the author thinking with this book? And,
Right.
and,
Why are they making us read this?
Yes.
You know, what are the themes here, and how do they apply to us here in the Valley? And that's what we're always trying to do, is like, how does this book apply to us here? And I guess if I were to say about this one, I would say, you know, it's the small town theme, it's the think about your neighbor theme, like what you were saying, we don't always know each other kind of thing.
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe you could always think twice about what you think you might know about somebody.
Exactly.
And just don't take things for granted, you know.
There's that.
And to look deeper at what you're seeing.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, there's humor in this book too.
Oh, it's a lot of humor. And you know what else there is? There's a lot of music. She's like, I almost have a playlist, because she talks a lot about the music that was playing on the radio, the music they were playing at the, you know, the bar, and it's very much about the music.
Right.
And other sounds come up a lot in this book. So it really sort of helps you place it in time, but also just kind of give you a different, more multisensory experience, I guess you could say.
And the other thing that's interesting is I believe Shannon herself has a bit of a backstory of, you know, herself. I think she had like a childhood where she was unhealthy, I believe.
Yes.
And several operations and things like that. So I just feel that there's maybe kind of a zest for life that kind of comes through, even through this hardship type of thing. And I don't know. So I'm really looking forward to meeting her, which I think comes through on these covers, which, like you said, does show an idyllic town that maybe is too idyllic. I don't know. Anyway, we'll have to discuss it. Or we'll have to ask her. and see what she's got going on. But she did also just win, what was it, the Maine
The Maine Book Award for fiction?
I did write it down. I did write it down. She just won the 2024 Maine Literary Book Award for fiction. So, which I always like to point those things out because it shows that we are not the only ones who liked the book.
True.
So we're not the only ones who picked it. But so just to recap, this is the, we're talking about the 2024 One Book, One Valley selection. And the big event for it is going to be October 24th.
Yep, 7 p.m.
at the Majestic Theater, and you can hopefully come in person. If not, you can stream the event. And beforehand, it's The Road to Dalton by Shannon Bowring, and you can go to any of the book groups that are being held by the participating libraries or the bookstore, and pick up the book at the libraries or the bookstore and be part of the community read. And I think it's going to be a good one this year. And in the meantime, you can also go to Flatbread on October 1st and have a pizza and support the program.
That way. Yep.
And then with all of that, we'll just turn one more question, because I never end this without asking our guests. And Mary, you are the library director at Cook Memorial, so I'm assuming that you read a lot. So what are your favorite books these days?
Well, my favorite book for the summer was God of the Woods.
Oh,
by
I love
Liz
that.
Moore. It was really good summer story. Kept you kind of guessing.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's good. That also made Obama's book list. So good company.
Wow.
My list, Obama's list, your list. Okay.
Yep, that's a good one.
Yes.
Another book I'm reading right now, and I'm reading it thinking about another book group. We have a climate and community book group in Tamworth, and we read The Tree Line by Ben Rawlins last year, and that was a really cool book about someone who went and visited scientists around the world who are studying the impact of climate on the boreal forest, and he kind of circumnavigated the polar regions. Anyway, that was a great big hit, and the idea that someone that you could see beyond, what you could see locally. So I'm reading Water Always Wins, and this is by Erica Gies, G-I-E-S. I'm not sure how you say that, Erica, sorry. But that's in a similar vein. It's talking about groundwater and water flooding mitigation and all of that, and the ways it's being handled around the world, and the way it's been handled sort of traditionally, and the way it's thinking about changing the way it's been handled. So I'm in the middle of that. I think it'd be a great discussion book.
Oh, wow.
So that
especially
was
up here with the water, northern and everything.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And the other one that I just loved, because my granddaughter loved it so much, was Orris and Timble by Kate DiCamillo.
Oh.
And Kate's going to be the featured speaker at the New Hampshire Book Festival, which is coming up on the first weekend of October. It's down in Concord. It's sort of a statewide Yay Books thing. So that's sweet. But Orris and Timble, it's an owl and a mouse, and you wouldn't think they would get along, but they kind of do. So it's when you're 3.5 years old, that's like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, the very first New Hampshire State Book Festival, right?
Yes.
So yes, well, fingers crossed that turns out well.
I hope so.
Well, that's a very varied list,
It is.
which is what I would expect from a librarian.
Yeah.
So I think that's it for today. So thank you,
Oh, thank you, Laura.
Mary, and I'm Laura from White Birch Books, and we are signing off. Remember, one book, one valley.
Yeah.